And then I'm going to look at a non-existent audience and say, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome. My name's Lorne, host of the Halcyon Show. How are you doing? Today, there's not really a way of sugarcoating this. I'm out of my depth in terms of production, in terms of promo style, in terms of just the extravagance of one's presentation, because we welcome someone who is, even in something like Battle Rap, which is a cavalcade of unique characters, figures, creators, this guy stands unique amongst even that. So I'm just going to jump in and say, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ghast Buff. How are you, sir?
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. I'm going to have to cut to the chase because I did my research clearly. Just one thing concerns me though. When did you get your? So you have a title. You have a sort of you're known as the porno goat. Like, why are you known as the porno goat?
Oh, there might be a typo in that somewhere.
Is it a type?
Yes.
What is it?
Promo goat.
So I spent the afternoon. That wasn't you I was watching.
No. YouTube text to speech can be a bit off at times, so it's completely understandable.
God.
Like, I get it a lot.
I spent hours and hours, and I am so tired. Oh well, that was for nothing. But no, all joking aside, you're unique in the battle rap realm for a number of different reasons, but the chief among which is your awareness of your need and your talent for promotion. You do things differently to almost everybody else. So my question is, why? And when did that start?
I mean, I mostly just do it to entertain myself. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. It entirely started because, like, I got into battle rap very recently. I've only started going to events post lockdown, and I kind of ended up just getting involved in it, writing down multis. Like, I was following like Shuffle on, when he was doing the daily rhyming challenges, and I was like, I think I know what a multi is, and I think I could maybe write a punchline or something. So I signed up for Premier Academy, and as soon as Prem put out, oh yeah, sorry, last year's Academy was a bit shit, our bad. Hey, by the way, this year the winner gets to go to New York, and all of a sudden it goes from like 8 people reading their bars on Zoom to 40 people, some of which have been doing it, 4, 5, 10 years in Bard's case, because there was no restrictions. And I just went, there's like 3 people on this list I haven't heard of. Like, one of whom was Kingsley, funnily enough. And it's just one of those things where I looked in and I thought, what can I do to make fun of this, kind of? Because, like, even when the matchups were announced, I had Kinnell tweeting me like, yo, I've just been to Glasgow, Melody's really good, like, you got to be really on your ball to win this. And I was just like, well, that's a start. Because really the promo came about because part of it was they announced that the best battle of the night will get a YouTube drop, and YouTube drops are currency as far as battle rap's concerned. So I was like, okay, well, if I'm going against a guy that's actually quite good, and they're basing it for qualification on who are the best 16 on the day, it doesn't matter if I win. It doesn't matter if I give the guy material. If we have battle of the night, it's all swept under the rug. So I started making these like funny little promo videos week on week, where the character, quote unquote, of Ghast Buff was someone that was clearly out his depth, that thought he was better than he was. And it was literally just to give Melody something to write about. Like, all I cared about at the time was having a good battle. I was literally handing my opponent ammunition to use against me, in hopes that we would have a better battle, and people just latched onto it. So I just kept doing it.
And it's interesting because there's a I know you're a pro wrestling fan, and I will, ladies and gentlemen who are not professional wrestling fans, I will try, because when I talk to another professional wrestling fan, it's like, but this guy gets it. In an era where it's so easy to just cotton onto what everyone else is doing and do a poor amalgamation or a poor imitation, it's very difficult to find someone who does something differently and well. I watched some of your promos on Twitter, some of your in fact, one of the things I wanted to pull up, and I will probably put this in post, is someone tweeted something along the lines of your you tweet your 2023 or something like that. So, well, here's one I made, and you made a whole fucking poster. and it's everything with the dates, all of the battles, and you've got all 10 of them there, and you've got your pictures, and you've got the superimposed, like it is, like it's the almost like Finn Balor-esque with the picture behind you that's almost monstrous and stuff. So, but like, some people might leave that after a while. They might then redirect their efforts once they feel like they've got some traction, some legit, because it's hard work. Like, this is stuff that you're having to churn out. This isn't something someone's kind of, you're handing it off to someone else. So I guess the next question I have is, why do you think it's so important to maintain that level of energy and that level of enthusiasm, and how do you maintain that energy and enthusiasm?
I like attention. It's probably the simplest way that I can answer that. No, it's, I mean, there is part of that. There is like the endorphin rush of, knowing that you made something that entertains other people, but it is, it's one of those ones where like I try to do it to kind of, almost practice the mediums that I'm working in, because I'm not a professional at anything I do. Like, I don't even think I'm a jack of all trades. I'm like a 7 in some trades, but I do it for fun. Like, I practice editing, but it's not in Photoshop, it's in GIMP. Like, I've got FL Studio, so I try to make my own audio wherever possible. I use Vegas instead of Premiere Pro or DaVinci or anything remotely good. Like, something that I got in a Humble bundle like 8 years ago that I'm just still learning new things. But yeah, it's just, I just think that doing, like, I think people appreciate effort at the end of the day. And I think if you can do anything that keeps yourself just in the conversation and in the zeitgeist of battle rap socials, like, it goes a long way. I think promoters are very eager to work with someone that they know is going to push the product.
But even now, I mean, look, I'm looking at your background now, and again, I can't. How do I articulate this? In an era where it's so easy to go on YouTube, let's say, or TikTok, or whatever your poison is, find something that you like. It's not even yours. You just like it, and you go, "Huh, I'm pretty sure everyone else will like this if I just clip it and re-upload it with me standing here doing this." You don't do that. You're putting in the extra effort, and I get the attention, but I get the question I have is, when you couple that with battle rap, and for people who have watched this show in the past or people that are fans of battle rap, they know this, but for people that don't, battle rap is renowned as one of the most notoriously hard things to prep for, because you only get the one opportunity, and you know that your opponent is doing everything in their power to research everything about you. How do you do? So again, I'm just struggling to understand where the energy and the enthusiasm comes, because you're coupling two of those things. Most guys struggle to do one or the other competently, and you do both of them competently, and that really does set you apart.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you. I think a lot of the enthusiasm comes from it is that battle rap ticks so many boxes for things that I've been involved in, like, for most of my life, that I've always wanted to get more involved in, that I either haven't because I haven't had like the ability to do what I wanted to do, or I've just not enjoyed the people or the work or the travel, or something that has always proven to be like you say, the comparison to wrestling is the ideal one, because there's so much character work. And it's like, if you're going to do like a Venn diagram of like pro wrestling and battle rap, it's just one circle there. It's a perfect overlap. So like, the idea that I get to take my acting background and put on a character is great. The fact that I get to take my writing background, is great. I've always enjoyed like problem solving. So the idea, I treat multis like a puzzle. I've always said to people, this is the nerdiest thing I've ever said, but like, I look at writing around like a Sudoku puzzle almost. Like, the idea that, once you find that 9 that solves like every other 9, which means you get every other 5, once you coming up with a good multi is like as satisfying as like getting a puzzle piece that finishes the piece. I don't know. So
I've never thought of it that way before. I mean, I guess in the sense of, because I don't write. Here's the thing: I do like to learn things about battle rap, but the writing process is something that every battler is always. Whenever I've asked, off camera or on camera, it's always it's an art, man. You kind of figure it out in your own way. You put it together in your own way. It comes together in spurts, and it's inspiration, it's motivation, it's all this other stuff. The fact that you look at it like a puzzle, like it's there to be solved, Like, you're not looking at it through the prism of, man, I'm just, maybe there's something good, maybe there isn't. You're looking at it already like, no, there's something good. There's something there. I just haven't figured it out yet. And once I've got it, then it'll all slot into place. Like,
I
is
do
that
most of
typical
my
for you?
I do most of my writing in the first 2 weeks of the battle being locked because I'm so excited to write. And usually I've got an idea for like angles or something for the names in the scene. So I could be offered a name and be like, oh, I'm really excited for this. And then like a week later, they'll be like, oh, sorry, we've reached out to the other guy. He can't do the date. I've got 2 rounds written, you know, like I'm just constantly writing all the time. If I come up with like a scheme or an angle or just a multi that I think is kind of clever, I'll just sit down and write. So I've just always got stuff in the clip which frees time up for the promotional stuff. If I'm walking around and I just get an idea, like, wouldn't it be really funny? Like, oh, I need to throw these old trainers out. Wouldn't it be really funny if I set them on fire and said they were Melody? Like, that's the kind of stuff that just comes to me. It's like stuff that's not particularly high effort. It's just a case of filming it and putting it in a clip. But just by virtue of having done it, it gets conversation started.
Talk to me about the thought process then, as you're going into a battle where, again, a lot of battlers that I talk to, they talk about the prep being hard, they talk about being on the day being hard because of the anticipation, the nerves, and wanting to nail it, basically. Again, coupling that with the fact that you're also cognizant of promoting the battle in advance, and you're also trying to build your own reputation, or we'll come to something that's going to harness your reputation pretty fucking quickly in a moment. But the fact is that, like, does that make it easier or harder? The fact that you're not only going into it thinking about the battle itself, but you're also thinking of ways along the way that are intricately planned, or at least that you want to give some credence to, as far as how you're promoting your battles when you release something on Twitter, when you release something on socials, or when you're thinking about your guises and your getup and your personality traits that you want to bring into the battle, or stuff that you want to add to kind of add to the lore, as it were. Like, how does that affect your process? Do you have to sort of rein in some of that energy for both, or is it something that you just tackle as and when you feel it?
I kind of tackle it as and when. I still think I'm like, even though I've done a lot of battles for 2 years, I still feel like I'm learning new things and trying new things. Like, I think a lot of the time I just think, what are other people not doing right now? I think a lot of the time is, and I spoke to Bobby Rex and Koji about this. I think it's because of the acting background. It's very easy for me to kind of put the fourth wall up and just treat it as just me and the camera. It doesn't matter if there's like no one there or if there's 400 people there. Like, I see it as, it's a stage. I've learned my lines. Like, I'm from a theater background. Like, I've done school plays in front of 500 people, and I've done a Broadway musical in front of 4 people, and 2 of them left during intermission. So the audience is not a factor to me when I perform. As weird as that sounds, because I do try to play to the audience more. But the performance side of things is I try to look at every card and go, okay, I've never tried something like this before. I'm not sure I feel comfortable doing it as me, if that makes sense. Like, I think a lot of that, it took me a long time to get used to the idea that I was actually pretty decent at this, to be honest. Like, it took me a long time to kind of mentally catch up to my own hype, if that makes sense. And I think and it caught up with me definitely badly. That's part of the reason why I choked against Kingsley, was, going from, a room in Nottingham with like 20 odd people there that have, are basically there to see tryouts and know they're there to see tryouts functionally, to the first plug event. You got Gemini there, you've got Tony D right behind the camera, and that was a huge jump for me. And it was the first time I'd gone into a battle as what people were saying was the favorite, and mentally it messed with me. I didn't really know what approach to take for Kingsley, and I was still trying to be the promo character. I hadn't really established a battle character yet. And after that, I kind of started looking at it like, okay, well, and obviously after that was the New York battle. So I thought, all right, let's get weird with it. Like, I may never get this opportunity. Let's not write, oh, I can't say that will fall flat, or no, I've got to be really. I just thought, let's let's do like a 32, scheme run. I've never done that before. Let's get all the school shooting bars I've had like floating around my head. LSD was, and after that I started looking at battles and almost tried new character things all the time, like getting to do the Halloween card with LSD. I rated Dean massively, and I thought that was a huge step up for me at the time. So I thought, right, I've really got to try for this. Against Bentner, no crowd on Beast Anglia. People are telling me, what are you battling on Beast Anglia for? I took that. I made a character out of it. I went into it, basically wrote my 2 of my rounds about, beast angling is shit. I don't know why I'm here. Did the SBE, people asking me why you battling SBE. Did the battle in sunglasses. Started calling everyone in Ireland terrible. But I think like the biggest kind of clearing point for that let me go, right, at this point I'm going to start trusting my own gut, was the Kinnell battle. I love that battle. That's probably, next to Crumpet, probably my favorite battle I've done, because if you compare the writing in that battle to any of my previous, there's no comparison. Like, it's just pure anger. It's all the stabby shooty bars that I was always under the impression, no one will take me seriously if I say this. And on top of that, I was like, okay, well, it's so ridiculous. How can I make it more ridiculous? Because I don't feel comfortable saying it as me. But if I'm turning up dressed like, a member of Kiss, or like just some black metal guy, and doing that, in a room of like battle rap hip hop fans, head to toe black leather, corpse paint, and then have people coming up to you telling you, yeah, that's the best you've ever done, that's performance of the night. That was just one of those moments that's just like, okay, I'm just going to trust my gut from now on. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want, because it's clearly not hurting my stock for taking these shots.
Is that what also gives you the license to be able to be as prolific as you were last year? Because it's for those who aren't aware, 10 battles in a year is fucking insanity. I'll put it bluntly, because again, you think about the turnaround for, and that's just, by the way, I'm presuming that's just, those are the ones you did. I presume there were other ones that were stop-starting along the way that kind of
there were a couple others that fell through. There were a couple like big name, like genuinely huge names that, we just couldn't do for either reason. I did that online battle tournament. I was up for doing spaces. I had a couple that I was offered that I kind of was still umming and ahhing about, this person's literally never battled before. Will this hurt my stock if I take it? But mentally, I was up for it. Again, like, as soon as it was offered, it was like, okay, I've got like a minute and a half of material in my head already. I can be I look at everything like, can I be funny with this? Can I make this work for me? And a lot of the time, I think the answer is yes. But yeah, I try to be a little more selective, just because that's what everyone above me is telling me. I found it quite easy, to be honest. I never felt overworked. I don't feel burnt out even now. If anything, after the Anderson battle was finished, and that was the first time since I started that I didn't have a battle on the horizon, that was the weird bit. Coming out of it going, okay, I've just been on like a 2-year run, and now I've got more battles than Gemini. How did that happen? Like, I thought I was going to do maybe 3 or 4, see if it was for me, dip my toe and be done,
That is, being selective is one of those things that you always have to you have to cross at some stage in your career. I think, for the most part, the fact that you've said that you've learned to trust your instincts a little bit more, and the fact that you've got all these different experiences now, and you've got these different moments you can draw upon to employ going forward. That's invaluable in something like battle rap, where again the ebb and flow of things it's like anything else at the moment. Hot, not. 1 minute you're the talk of the town, the next it's like, oh man, he hasn't battled in 2 days. Oh, he's old news. And it's like, the fact that you've been able to be so prolific, and yet you're saying you're not burnt out, and the fact that you still feel energized, but now that you've gotten that experience in the bank, I guess the biggest question to take away from that is, how does it feel having gone from like your journey? And I want to go into that a little bit more in a moment, but 150, I think it was 160 plus thousand views against Anderson Burrus, and the idea being that, yes, he's being fucking... there's not a day that goes by where a short of his battling you isn't in my fucking feed, lads. But, like, just from a personal perspective, the fact that something you've participated, contributed in... And by the way, I saw your interview afterwards where you said, I might have gotten body, but I think it did my stock no harm. fuck yeah, your goddamn rounds were fucking impeccable, and I thought you carried yourself absolutely immaculately considering the crowd. And I thought you called your second round best. Your first round had me fucking in stitches, my friend. My question is, how personally gratifying is that to you that you're involved in something that battle rap is really gearing itself to try and regain and recapture that kind of more prolific worldwide, or UK battle rap I should say, that prolific worldwide fan base that's hungry for people like you, who are funny, who are intelligent, who are confident and prolific, that can do everything. How does it feel for you?
It's insane, honestly. It's kind of hard to put, like, on one hand, it almost feels like mission complete, because the whole point of me starting with the promo thing was, you know, it was post-lockdown. Everyone was talking about, yeah, this is the rebuild. And I looked at it like, yeah, it would be great for me to find out if I'm any good at it. But if I am any good at it, I'm getting on at the ground floor of something I think is going to be really big again. Like Apex 3 was colossal. Like, or I think it was All the Smoke where Tony D battled Nugget, like that, you know, the big London return show. That was, you know, I gave my academy application in that night just because like I was really invested in the scene and I wanted to see it grow. And the whole point of it was like, people aren't making these weird well, people, that's the thing, like one person was making these weird comedy skits and his name was Anderson Burrus. So I looked at it and I was like, you know, this is my sense of humor, this is what my skill set with editing, I want to get better at it. Let's throw this to the wind, because the worst thing that can happen is it dies a death. You know, it gets put up in the battle, I get bodied, you know, whoop-de-doo, I'm one of a list of many tryouts that did one and then vanished. You know, best case scenario, this inexplicably goes viral and a bunch of people in my social circles, maybe wider social circles, discover battle rap, and now we've got people buying tickets, people subbing to the Patreon for me and for the other people that they're discovering through me. That was the way that I always looked at it, was, you know, if I do the same thing that everyone else is doing, it's not going to be as good. I can't rap. I genuinely cannot rap on a beat for my life. I've tried. If I could, I'd be making diss tracks, but it's not my skill set. And you know, and people, and it gets brought up all the time. Like, how can you be a battle rapper if you're not a rapper? I do think they are very different skill sets. I massively appreciate anyone that can get on beat, but I always treated it as, look, let's help the rebuild. And if people, you know, want to give me a pat on the back, and in a way, it worked in ways I didn't expect to. Like, I got to help indirectly in other ways. I got to help Don't Flop get on their feet, because that got me the editing job. It's got me the SovPro job, which, you know, which is a dream come true. You know, I mean, we're probably going to talk wrestling for like an hour later on in the interview anyway, but like, it's opened more doors for me in that way. But the Anderson battle to me was like dream bucket list. This won't happen. It would be lovely to dream. And then when it finally got offered to me, I was like, okay, well, that's insane, because to me that was endgame, and it's happened within 2 years. I'm under no illusion of my skill set and level. Like, I know I'm a UK mid-card guy aspiring to be upper mid-card. I genuinely think Anderson is like global, international, elite tier. I went into it thinking, there's no pressure. What's the worst that can happen? I lose 3-0. I'm expecting to lose 3-0. All I can do is be the best that I am. You know, it's a brand new league in front of a London crowd, most of whom are coming from, you know, Twitter Spaces and grime background. So even though it's a battle rap event, most people there aren't going to know who I am. They're going to hear me talk. They're going to, oh, there's Lord Barquad. There he is. Like, so I treated it again like a new audience to try and win over. But I thought that battle would get maybe 10,000 views, 20 at a push. For it to break 50 was ridiculous. And then once it broke 100, I was just like, this is silly now.
I mean, it has to be stressed. I'm sorry to interrupt, because this is, again, context is key for this situation. Shotty Shuffle happened to 2023. There were a number of title matches. Tony Bizzo was absolutely exquisite and got promoted and pushed everywhere. Gemini had a couple of battles that were pretty prolific and well publicized. None of them did the kind of traction that battle did. And UK battle rap has been crying out not necessarily for quality, It hasn't necessarily been crying out for interesting characters, interesting storylines, points of interest that people can latch onto, but it just hasn't been able to cross that threshold into the popular consciousness here and abroad until you're a big part of that. Like I say, man, that must. And we're not comparing it to other people in the sense of my numbers are bigger than yours, but at the same time, you're in it. Like you said, you're on the ground level. The battle rap is ascending. There's no doubt about it at the moment, and you're at the ground level contributing to that. That must, as a fan and as a sort of someone still getting their bearings in the scene, that must be fucking insane.
It's great, honestly. But I will put my hands up. Like, I take little to no
right
credit.
Not I know where this shit's going right now. No, you pack that shit. If he wants to rap against a broomstick, let him rap against a broomstick and see if it does the same numbers.
Exactly. Well, that's my main contribution to the battle, I think, is that I've always said I'm very easy to write for. You know what I mean? Like fair enough. Like, if he doesn't have those angles to work with, maybe the battle doesn't get the views it is. So in that regard, he's welcome, I suppose. But I have took a lot of, the main thing I've taken away from the battle, not the view count. Like, I'm going into it and I'm saying, yeah, I'm the biggest name in UK battle. I don't believe that. You know what I mean? Like, it's all character work. It's all shit to add to the fire. But the main thing I've taken away from that I've been able to go to, like, people like Stro and YD and said, yo, look what Anderson's doing. Like, I'm checking this battle. I'm checking, like, the viewer tags. And I'm like, yo, he's adding, like, chess versus T-top to this tags. That wasn't there last week. Like another league will drop like their own big battle and he'll change the meta tags on that battle and release another short with the same tags to get it back in the algorithm. I'm like, do this. What the fuck? Like, I'm checking like Prem's Bobs and it's got like Premier Battles, UK Battle Rap, and those are the only two tags. And I'm like, maybe add a couple more, guys. You know what I mean? So I'm treating it like a sponge because that guy was basically my inspiration for promo. And he's still teaching me things via beating me. It's great.
I'm afraid since you've yeah, we'll do it now. You mentioned something there that I think is critical to touch on a little bit more, because you've how do I phrase this? I have a 3-part question for you now, if that's okay.
Okay.
We just want to just get this out of the way because I feel obliged to do so. What did joining Venom do for your career in 2023, would you say? How much of your success do you attribute to, one, Mr. Stro, 80, 90%? And what impact do you think Stro has on the scene today? I've met my obligation. I've asked him. He doesn't have to answer now.
I feel like Stro's asked that. Am I correct?
No, I can't confirm.
You don't have to. You don't have to provide your
I
sources.
just
but
felt like asking. You mentioned him in passing. It felt like a good time to get out of my contractual obligations to Bloodstro for all of the favors he's done for me over the years.
Completely valid, and I am happy to wax lyrical about Stro for the next however long, because I love Stro. Stro has genuinely done shit tons for me and shit tons for the scene as a whole. I think the whole Undisclosed series has been a massive success in terms of like getting people's foot in the door. But Stro just has a mind for talent. Like, he's very good at going, yeah, this battle would be a look, but what about this guy? Because if you beat this guy, you can beat this guy. Like, there was a time early on that in the season I was not overstepping my boundaries so much, because I was looking at it like, I didn't mind about the gas time battle. It was, it was a battle on paper, and I treated it like I can only be as good as I can be. It's an opportunity for me to do something fun. After that battle, where people were kind of overrating me a bit, I think, like, there was lots of people after that battle being like, "Oh, Ghast Buff should be Division 1," and I kind of took it to heart probably a bit more than I should, so I was asking for names that I wasn't ready for at that time, and Stro very cleverly, like, didn't tell me like, oh, what, wind your neck in. He was just like, I was like, oh, what do you think I could beat Matter? And he was like, beat Colton and we'll talk. And then Colton beat me clear as day. You know what I mean? But it wasn't like, Stro cut me off after that. He was like, okay, I still think you versus Graz is a good matchup, and it was great. It was it's probably my closest match I've had other than Will Ross. And even though I was gutted that we lost that, because I feel like that match day was so important to Venom winning the league, and I was pleased with my performance. I rate Grazza; he's one of my best mates in the scene. I didn't have bad feelings, about losing, but I was just like, we could have got it, And immediately after, Stro just came up and gave me a big hug and said, "I'm proud of you." And he's like, every big battle I have, Stro always tells me he's proud of me, and like I have him to thank for so much, because he's the one that gets me the bookings. He's the one that gets me these big cards, these big opportunities. The Sprungy battle, all Stro, all, you know what I mean? Like, that's a huge card that I wouldn't have been on if I didn't have his backing. And I always, I'm massively grateful to Stro for every opportunity, and I want to keep giving back. That's the thing. That's part of the promo, is my way of showing gratitude. Thank you guys for giving me this platform, for giving me access to this audience. Let's see if this makes you money. I hope it does. You know what I mean?
And through the power of editing, the last 2 minutes will be magically replaced with a scathing indictment on Stro as a person, human being, promoter, and just a man in general. I mean, frankly, I thought you were a bit harsh on him there, but that's fine. We all have our opinions, and Stro is, he's passable, I guess.
Fuck him. He barely beat Danny Jack. Stro 3-0. Clear as day.
Yeah, Stro, you're all right. There you go. We're even now. So there you go. Well, look, that's the past. Stro's the past. All this other stuff's the past. You got something coming up, I'm given to understand. I don't know much about it. I think you're battling in less than 2 weeks at the Venue nightclub in Manchester versus Scomo on the 10th of February 2024. Tickets available now at premierbattles.com, premierbattles.club. Do you want to cut a promo on Scomo now, or do you want to cut a promo on him in the interim period? Or
I can cut promos on Scomos anytime I want. There's so much to talk about. The mad thing, I don't say I struggle writing for opponents. There's been like a handful of people where I've been like, I'm not quite sure what to say, and they've been difficult to write for. Scomo is the easiest opponent I've ever had in that regard. The only reason that I would class Scomo as a difficult opponent is that I've had so much to cut. I could do the battle the weekend after with 3 different rounds and win both battles. That's how much material I'm sitting on right now. Editing this battle to get to the 90-second time limit because he's too scared to stand in front of 2 minutes has been a fucking nightmare. I could release an EP of diss tracks with extra bars that I've got. He is the easiest human being to write for, and I've not mentioned autism once. Like, everyone else is like, I'm going to call you something that rhymes with plastic. Don't need to. There is a litany of angles to take. I have no shortage. This is going to be a cakewalk.
I mean, don't sugarcoat it now. Tell me what you really think.
I don't know. It's just one of those things. You know what I mean? Like, it was one of those battles there. Like, he took a year off to do his little academy, second academy year in a row where it was like, I'm guaranteeing a victory, and he came up short, as we all expected him to. And to be fair, I thought he did actually win the battle. I was meant to be there to judge, but I was busy going home. But I don't know, man. It's one of those ones where, like, I think that year away from UK Battle Rap kind of kept him out of people's eyes for longer than he was happy. He's battling in the UK again, so now he gets to infect every space he joins. And it's just one of those ones where if that Conor McGregor thing hadn't happened, they'd have him be the center of attention again. I think people would be looking at this and be like, why the fuck are you battling Scomo after the year you've had? But the fact that they get to spin it as Mr. Viral versus Mr. Viral because he called out one of the top 10 most recognizable sporting faces of the last decade with 10 million Twitter followers, and he just managed to scrape 1/6 of my viewership against a battle rapper. Congratulations to him. He got a couple hundred extra views on all his other battles. Not a single complimentary comment in any of them since, but hey ho, get those eyes on the product, Scomo. You do you.
God's sake, I'm pissing my sides off camera. Save something for the night, dude. Hell.
Like I said, man, I've got plenty. I am not hurting in the slightest for material. I have had my 3 rounds. I have had a 3 rounds locked since before Christmas. I probably have a brand new 3 rounds locked now. And yeah, it's all locked, it's all learned, it's just polished, and I think the scope of the battle I've had last time, I think this will be my best performance by a considerable margin.
Oh shit! Right, composure, professional. Let me ask. Let me ask you a serious question as it comes to this. Obviously, and I'll be careful how I approach this because I have my own history with the whole McGregor cross promotion stuff. The point I would make there, though, is that that did elicit some traction. That did elicit some attention. It got people very excited. It got people very engaged with battle rap for I think it was 3 days. I can't remember exactly how long. Like, when you look at that, and when you look at how easy it is for something to catch fire in a moment, but then also kind of it fizzled out to a certain degree. I don't think anyone really has kind of tried to rekindle it or has kind of brought it up. I guess my question there is, like, in your experience, how much of this stuff sticks? How much of it is reputational versus how much actually benefits you in a longer run? Like, because I'm obviously aware of it, you're obviously aware of it, but if you're marketing the battle on that, unless someone has the opportunity to go through the entire exchange, which how beneficial really was it in the scheme of things in terms of raising the profile of him versus what you've currently got now with Anderson, where Anderson's stuff is constantly in the algorithm, even if it's for 30 seconds. Like, your face and your name and then therefore the original battle and the clips of the battle are going to get viewed a lot, and that's going to have some traction. It's also going to do your reputation no harm. In your opinion, like, how do you view that sort of stuff when you're trying to taper what you're doing to make it as effective at promoting you as possible?
I mean, just to take the promo hat off, it's like, genuinely, like, I was gassed for Scomo when it happened because it was, first of all, it was very funny.
He's killing kayfabe. He's just
I don't need to.
He's not just fucking those marks out there.
I don't need to kill kayfabe. Like,
I
have spoken to Scomo about this directly, like, from on some level, and I can keep it. It's still in line with what I think. I was happy that it happened, but it was a big moment for Scomo. It didn't feel like so much a big moment for battle rap, in a sense. Like, he got a lot of views, immediately, and a lot of those people bled over into his other battles. Like, I haven't had that so much. Like, I've had a lot of people, like, kind of follow me on socials, and a lot of people follow me on the YouTube channel that I don't use, just because they're like, they're seeing me in the comments and they're subscribing to me. So I do think I've gained, like, a very small, even if it is only a small percentage, so many people have seen that thing at this point that if a fraction of those people keep following me and are now aware of me, it's good for me in the long run. But I feel like a lot of the people that kind of saw Scomo were either like McGregor fans looking to shit on him, or just kind of people that were seeing it as part of all the newspapers and the general vox pox. And that's great for him, because now he can point at it and be like, do what I did with the New York thing, where it just it happened. Like, in the grand scheme of things, it didn't mean a whole lot, but it's something that I can point at forever and say it happened. Same with me getting 150k views. Like, I didn't get the 150k, but Battle Rap Ghast Buff can always say, yeah, I got more views than Shotty Shuffle. That's always on the table now. Same for him and, like, the McGregor, and McGregor 25k views, name in the papers. The fact that he's battling Anderson next himself, that's great for him. But I think the way that promo needs to go is, you look at the comments in the shorts that Anderson's posting, and a lot of them are either people that weren't familiar with battle rap before, or they're lapsed fans, or just American fans that don't watch the UK. But it's the first two categories that I think are the most important, because even if people are coming into it and going, oh, this guy's the best in the UK, where's Lunacy? Like, not watched in 10 years, obviously, but, like, the fact that they're thinking about battle rap again, like, if a handful of them stumble upon Don't Flop and Prem and realize that the scene's healthy, that's great in the long run. And I hope the same for Scomo. I would say it was probably more beneficial for the scene long run when Scomo went viral the first time with those bars against Melody, because those were battle bars.
And yeah, he also made the news as well, didn't he? Yeah. I remember him being invited onto some either some local news or some regional news channels, and I remember it being a big deal in the sense of it's not mainstream appeal, I won't say that, but it's certainly an endorsement of sorts, because it's them saying, look, battle rap has something positive to offer. It isn't just
100%.
what your perception of it might be. And it's the same as wrestling. Again, we'll make a lot of wrestling comparisons. That's the thing I always fight with battle rap, in terms of not defending it as a genre, but like selling it to people. Like, hey, listen, if you think that battle rap is just what you saw in 8 Mile in 2003, fair enough. However, if I could proffer a suggestion that shit might have moved on since 2003, and you should maybe give it a shot, if you're prepared to sit there and pay, 50 quid, 60 quid for a stand-up ticket, or you're looking to pay 20 quid for a fucking streaming subscription to a bunch of Netflix movies that you won't remember in 10 minutes, maybe consider going to a battle rap event where the tickets are commensurately quite cheap. The experience is always fantastic because the community is awesome, and the battles are always A, funny, B, clever, and C, really, there's not a single person that goes to a battle rap event and doesn't start here trying to look cool, like arms crossed, head back like this. I know it happened to me. You can Google it, you can see for yourself. And sooner or later, they start leaning in, and they start leaning in, and they start just getting immersed. Like, battle rap does that. And like I say, Scomo's stuff illuminated that it has that positivity, albeit for a moment, and that's a good thing. But then, like you say, how does that translate? How can that be proffered forwards? And I guess that's why I'm asking you, because you seem to be more acutely aware of that possibility than other people, because they share their own stuff, they might clip their own stuff a little bit. You're looking to add to it. You're looking to kind of, that's the main course. Here's a sousson of something else. Here's a an entree of something else. Like, how do you view that in terms of what opportunities are out there versus what you do? Like, how do you hem it down? How do you focus on what to apply your energy to?
So I try to focus on, like, okay, if I do this, who will this appeal to? And it got brought up in my second ever battle against Cooper, which great. That was a perfect angle, and it got it out of the way immediately, which is the stuff that I share and make. Yes, it's promo, but a lot of the time what I'm doing is I'm doing it for the battle rap crowd. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't expect, me making a funny, 1 minute long sketch full of inside references, or, full of a cartoon with, of battle rappers making inside jokes to other battle rappers in a battle rapper. That's not gonna go TikTok viral. You know what I mean? But it raises like awareness within the scene of me and of my upcoming battles. And a lot of the time, that's kind of like the ground level that you need to be on. Is you just need to be in the conversation. Like, you need people to be aware of you. You need people to be like at least vaguely aware of the battles you got booked, so they can get excited from them. There's been some really great battles that have happened that I feel like people don't even know they've happened. But I think Carlton Shanks versus Jester Black is a great battle, but neither of them use socials, so it just kind of like got swept under the rug. Again, this is part of the reason that I did the promo in the first place, was I always looked at this and found it was a bit weird. Red Wolf has 100,000 YouTube subscribers, and I always found it really weird that he had that platform and wasn't getting more views than other people. Like, I feel like you kind of need to use whatever platform is available to you to kind of get your name out there. D-Burk's a great example of the current crop that are in that hugely successful YouTube channel. Like, there's videos on his channel that I've watched before I even knew that it was him. And he said he's going to lean into it more going forward, and I hope he does. But someone like D-Burk, as good as D-Burk is, with the pre-existing platform that D-Burk has, that could potentially bring a lot of eyes to battle rap, I would love to be seeing him getting like 5k plus on the regular, but he shouldn't be in the position where he's struggling to get 1,000. I don't think anyone should, frankly.
It's interesting. We'll come back, because I don't want to get too off track, because we still have a lot to talk about as far as you, but I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are on this, because again, you're a fellow wrestling fan and you'll understand this. The Rock is the only example in recent times of a wrestling star who made the transition successfully, and there's no one debating that point. You can debate his merits as an actor. I will. He plays The Rock in every movie he's in, but he's very successful doing it. However, you're always going to be shocked when you see how many wrestlers have tried. And the argument always is, but he was insanely popular as a wrestler and wrestling's on TV. And it's like, yes, but what people know you for doesn't always translate into something new. Like, if people know you as, I'm the interview guy now, That's what I am. I'm not going to shake that opinion of people. If I decide to do a dramatic reading of Shakespeare one day, people are going to go, the fuck is this shit? So the question then becomes, how do you translate a following into something that can be applied to something that you want to be successful in, or just you want to just do for your own gratification? But that's hard. And again, when you're trying to talk about battle rap, for instance, one of the problems that I face with people is that there's so many closeted battle rap fans. You go like, you care about this interview coming up? It's like, oh yeah, I'm a massive battle rap fan. But you never share anything. Yeah. And you can feel that there's a weird stigmatization there that I don't know if it exists with other genres, like with the Traitor fucking show the other day that was on TV and gets shared a million fucking times. My question then is, in your mind at least, how does battle rap, UK battle rap specifically, go about breaching that wall? How is it go from being something that is a niche? And I think it is a niche. It's a niche art form, but it shouldn't be. It doesn't have to be. I don't think it's any less marketable than a stand-up comic routine or a live music concert or something along those lines. But how does one go about broaching that, would you think?
I think it's more. This is a difficult thing for me because I don't feel like I do it, but at least not as much as I could. But I think a lot of it comes down to everyone is in their own social circles. And it's a question of how big those circles are, how involved you are with those other circles. And do you think you can either bring them in or vice versa? Because I look at it now and I love being part of SovPro. And this is an example of me doing what I did in battle rap, caught Shotty's attention at the right time. And as a result, I'm involved in SovPro, which is a dream, which I'm going to keep saying. I love SovPro so much. But there's other people in SovPro that are in the exact same position. Like the band Aerial Salad, brilliant band, make some of the theme music for some of the SovPro guys, really good. Like they play on-screen managers in SovPro, and they're fucking brilliant. Like Jamie and Wimbo, I see them on screen. Like after the first show that I came on, Jamie came backstage and I was just like, mate, every time I see you out there, I fucking hate you. He's such a good heel, but he's one of the nicest guys in the world. But that's just one of the doors that Shotty has opened for me and for them, is the fact that, yeah, we've come from another industry into this. And now hopefully SovPro will continue to grow. But because I do a lot of media stuff for SovPro as well, there's a good chance that some of those people might also bleed into battle rap and vice versa. And I think it's all well and good to be like big in battle rap and catch battle rappers' attention, but I think you've got to be like willing to experiment. I think the idea what Briggsy was doing with Man Marked, where it was like on beat battles, was great. Doing it at hip hop festivals was great. Shuffle doing stuff like Sounds Like, then bringing Sounds Like live, then bringing Sounds Like to the Fringe. That's great. Don't Flop Ireland bringing in big Irish hip hop names to be part of their thing, so they treat almost like a music show that they put the battle rap around, so that they've already got the crowd in there that are there for hip hop and that are hyped for it. You've got, like Don't Flop was, I think they were looking to do the college tours again. Like you've got, I think there's a level of throwing shit at the wall with this, and some people have cracked it, some haven't.
And then there's me, and I'm a objectively piece of shit. So it's one of those things where I would be, no, dude. If I ever got into wrestling, there's no babyface turn for me. I start heel, I finish heel. Like there's no redeeming save. There's no, no, do you know what? He's losing too much now. I think we should turn him. Like, nah, kick him while he's down. Fuck that guy. And I'm proud of it. Fuck it. I don't care. I'll be a heel for life, bitch. I'll be the NWO version of humanity for all I care. Being
heel is just fun. Like, it's just thinking of the stuff that you can do to get people to hate you. It's just fun.
Being a wrestling heel, we might as well talk about this now for a second, because we both love wrestling, and I think the thing about wrestling is the same as with battle rap, in the sense that it's that vicarious playtime that you had as a kid when you've got a fucking dagger or something and you're pretending to be a Power Ranger, or you've got something like a wrestling belt and you're pretending to be a wrestler. Like wrestling and battle rap allow you to take those elements of your personality, character, anything about you that you want to embellish or, kind of shine a spotlight on, and just have fun with it. And you just kind of embellish it and tweak it and hone it and polish it until it's presentable to an audience, at which point, again, the main object is obviously to entertain people, but ultimately it's just, is this fun? And wrestling a battle rap, every time I watch a wrestling event or a battle rap event, yes, it has its gatekeepers and it has its toxic fans, like with anything, but fuck, man, they're both just fun. And being a wrestling fan is one of those things where it's odd, where you're like, there's the bad guy, boo. Oh god, I love booing him. What? How does that make sense? Why do you love booing someone? Like, can't really explain it.
There's a huge level of like love to hate. I think it's just.
Well,
I think Kojey's got it down. I think sometimes I think sometimes like people do genuinely think that Kojey is an arsehole, and that might be true. But I think on some level, I think Kojey is like the perfect battle rap heel as it currently stands, because you don't dislike him enough to not buy a ticket to see him. You think, oh man, I really hope Jem shuts him up. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those ones where, like, Kojey will come out and he'll give like a great performance, and every time you're like, oh, that was an incredible performance, maybe performance of the year. He's gonna be fucking insufferable now. You know, it's just, and I wish there was more like that. There'd be more. It's like, I don't know, like it'd probably get overwhelming if there were too many of it. But sometimes, like, you know, if Kojey's trying to be the Roman Reigns, sometimes when I like to play heel in a battle, I try to lean more toward the early Miz, where just like everything's embellished and just make it go.
Wait, no. So, question: how early Miz though? Are we talking Miz and Morrison? Or are we talking his early phase as like when he wasn't quite Hollywood Miz yet, but he was short hair. Very much icy geared Miz, if that makes sense. Or is that?
I'm saying early Miz mostly because Miz has been around for an eon at this point, which again is a testament to how fucking good he is. But like,
original tough enough competitor.
Like, so. I think like either like just before he won the WWE title, Miz, like when he was on the cusp, right. Or like 2016 SmackDown IC champion Miz, where he's got the respect, but he's still a dick, and it's.
Miz is insufferable for a number of reasons, chief among which Maurice. You motherfucker! How dare you bag a woman that fine, looking that slappable? Like, you son of a bitch, but fair play. And then you've got again the fact that, I mean, I'm old enough to remember when him and Morrison were tagging. Morrison was the one was tipped for heavyweight championship status at one stage. And this is a future WWE champion. No one was looking at the Miz, and now he's a 2-time WWE champion.
Okay, right. I'm gonna rant about this because I never get chance to. Right, this is something that has always annoyed me. Like, was it 2010 that it was Cena versus Miz at Mania? Either 2010 or 2011. It has always bothered me that they didn't do Miz versus Morrison at the Royal Rumble. They did it on a random Raw or SmackDown. They had Miz win, and the commentators go, "Oh, fucking well, tough shit, Morrison. Goodbye. It's Randy Orton time." Like, you didn't need to do that. One of the strengths of the Royal Rumble, I've always thought, is that you can give a title match to literally anyone because no one gives a shit. They're buying it for the Rumble. Like, you can dip toes. You can put Morrison in a title match on a pay-per-view and see if he sinks or swims. They had no reason to give it to Randy Orton. It's made me mad for over a decade that they didn't do this.
Of all the things in professional wrestling to get that mad about, that's the thing that really ruffles your. Like, I have to dig. Why in particular that one? Because I don't
know. I think it was just
had a career. It wasn't the career we all thought he was going to have. I mean, he's bounced around quite a lot, and Miz has had. He's an IC legend, I guess you could argue. He's probably had a Hall of Fame career. But why that one? Why does that ruffle your feathers?
I think it was the flippancy of it. I think it was, this was the dark time before the pipe bomb, where everyone's tension was just like violin string tight, and it just seemed like anytime anyone remotely got over, it was womp womp. Here comes Cena Orton again, and I think it was just the fact that they literally had a tailor-made feud that they could have thrown on the one pay-per-view where the title match didn't matter. No one expected Morrison to win. You could have done the exact match, move for move, beat for beat, and it wouldn't have changed a thing, but they couldn't help themselves. It's always bothered me.
Isn't that the thing with WWE? So look, I'm not quite a lapsed fan when it comes to WWE, but some of the look, I'll just be upfront. I've said this many times. The Saudi Arabia stuff after Kamal Khashoggi was murdered, that made me quit the fucking network. The Vince stuff made me want to stop watching on a weekly basis, and now this new Vince stuff makes me want to go for a shower and never come out. The fact is, though, that WWE historically has not, as much as Vince McMahon wants to be the Walt Disney of wrestling, whatever the fuck that means, they don't really give a shit about what the fans want. They tend to book things based on what they want the fans to want and want the fans to think. Hence why the thing with Orton and Cena that I always thought was that their equivalent in the day was Rock and Austin. And Rock and Austin weren't prolific in their rivalry. They had maybe 6 or 7 matches that you could say, well, they're involved and they're having their moments. And then obviously you've got the Manias that bookend that. But the fact is, though, that you go from that to Orton and Cena, which was the never-ending story. They just fucking wrestled forever. And WWE didn't give a shit about that because they were just saying to themselves, well, you were complaining that Rock and Austin didn't wrestle enough. And now we've given you that. There's no pleasing you. It's like, no, but there's nuance, WWE. There's a middle ground sometimes where you can go from not pissing off your fans to making them happy. Finish the story, Cody, for example. Like, I guess I mean, is that the one, or is that just the one that comes to mind the most in terms of the most infuriating moments in your wrestling fandom?
There's loads of infuriating moments, and almost all of them are from that 3-year period where it became, 3 to 5 year period where it became really difficult to give a shit. I think like any time between like 2005 and 2010, like it was, I think everyone was like still on the high of like the ruthless aggression era, the attitude era. People were really excited to see things the way they were, and then I think just that period after like Eddie's death and the Benoit thing, it just became really weird. There was no one really on the up. Like internet fans were starting to become more prolific, and the more prolific they became, the more determined it seemed like management was to fucking crush anyone that got organically over. And I think it was just a period where it felt like for years and years on end, the relationship was like outright adversarial. Like, to quote OSW, you don't like what you think you like.
Yeah, right. I'm glad you said that, and it's not me saying that because, right, it was. Am I allowed? Oh fuck it, who cares? It was Adam Blompier that said it. Who he said he'd never seen another company or industry so unnecessarily adversarial with its fan base other than the telecommunications industry. Because he's right. It's the thing of wrestling. When you think of wrestling, you do think of it through the prism of like a Disneyfication. Like you think of these fucking moments. Like for me, what got me into wrestling was Hell in a Cell with Mick Foley and Triple H. Like that match, I remember hearing about, seeing the promos for Cactus Jack Mankind shedding it and turning into Cactus Jack for the first time, not really understanding what that was, but being slightly enthralled by the prospect of a barbed wire fucking 2x4 being set on fire and hitting someone's head. Like, okay, I'm in. Like, you think of moments that make wrestling and you think of the highs that come with it. And then when you watch wrestling in its contemporary form, and like you say, for the last maybe 10 years or so, it's staggering how many times a fan will watch an event, go, that match was good, that match was good. Would you watch that pay-per-view again, though? No. Why not? Because it was ultimately disappointing because they didn't do this thing. Well, surely it can't be that bad. Yes, but it's every event. It's every event now. Even when they got something good like Roman, for instance, they did well. But now they're beating him into the ground. It's like, right, enough. You need to do something different with Roman, but like you say, they're adversarial. And it's so odd. Because you'd think, don't be adversarial, you'll make more money. Like, isn't that what you love?
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think a lot of the benefits of like the new booking committee as it currently stands is the fact that Roman's absent so much has meant that they've had to build the mid card, and it felt like there was a period where if you weren't in the world title match, no one actually gave a shit what you did. Like, you were either like a cruiserweight that got fed to the new big guy of the week, or you were a tag team that broke up, the big guy won, and then neither of them did anything anyway. Like, it felt like there was a long period where there was just no mid card during this miserable period where the best promo of the last 20 years somehow led to a Triple H Kevin Nash ladder match. What? Just, I don't know, man.
It gets worse because, again, I'm also old enough to remember NXT in its heyday. And I know I say old enough, but the point is I'm over 30 and therefore I'm ancient, apparently. But the point I'm making there is that NXT was a great system until they just started using it to go, right, well, that's our mid-card now, and we'll just use that to feed our headliners. And it's like, no, please don't feed Ricochet to anybody. Please don't feed Keith Lee to anybody. Please don't feed Malachi and Shinsuke and oh, God, you're just feeding them all, aren't you? And they just didn't stop. They just didn't stop for a while, to the point where when someone like Shinsuke won the Rumble, it was lovely to see, but did anyone have any faith his title run wasn't going to be him kicking people in the dick for 3 months? Because, of course he's going to kick people in the dick. He's a heel. Heels do things like that. No, he wrestled Lesnar in Japan. And he was credible. Like, why are you doing this to Shinsuke Nakamura?
I am so... Like, I'm not surprised they didn't put the belt on him after the AJ feud. I am mad they didn't put the belt on him in the Seth feud. Because you're not going to get another chance. The guy got organically over again 5 years later as a Japanese wrestler. Do you know how hard that is? Give him the belt. Like, everyone doesn't need to have a year-long reign. Like, Seth could afford to lose it for 2 months. Give it back to him after the fact. But give Nakamura that feather in the cap of being able to say this guy's a future world champion. You're going to treat him like Kofi in the future anyway, but at least give him the feather. You know, I don't know. It bothers me. I'll hold my hand up. I'm not a massive Rollins fan, so that's part of the reason why I'm so salty about it. But like,
but he has the world's most charming laugh. How can you not be a Seth Rollins fan?
I respect the fact that he's able to like reinvent himself with different characters, which are all very entertaining and great and get over organically in their own right. But it always goes the same way, which is he does something new as a heel. It's great. It's entertaining. He becomes face. He becomes boring as fuck, and they only put him against against heels that end up being more interesting than him, and it just sours the whole reign. Rollins has had a great run, but heel Nakamura was incredible. The Fiend was incredible. Like, there was a brief period where fucking Baron Corbin was interesting for all of 3 weeks. God knows how that happened. But there's just something about, you know, I think it might be PTSD. It gives me reminders of fresh champion Cena beating Kurt Angle via submission, beating Chris Jericho and Christian in the same night. There's that level of, hey, remember, here's your top babyface champion. Here's someone you enjoy more. Watch them lose. I don't know.
It's wrestling ultimately. I mean, again, AEW's got its own problems, but I don't remember them booking too many angles which ultimately ended up in a way that people went... Because look, the best example in recent times is the Cody thing. If nothing else, then the finish the story has become a meme. It's become an insult. Like, finish the story, do you remember how that... It's like... The reason that happened is because it was so unilaterally obvious that that was the right thing to do for everybody, and everyone wanted it. Right, because it's obvious we can't do it. No. We know Thanos is going to lose at the end of fucking Endgame. You don't swerve him and say he snaps his fingers and everyone else dies, end of Marvel Universe. That's not how that works. But in the psychological perspective, they got it in their heads. They had to be... Oh, we have to swerve everybody. We have to be clever with it. And then in retrospect, do what WWE do better than anybody else, which is... Sorry, no, that's not the narrative anymore. We've changed our minds. Here's the new narrative. The Ultimate Warrior was always a great competitor and just the nicest guy. The DVD we put out about him? I don't know what you're talking about. And that's, again, the frustration of being a wrestling fan is that. It's a lot of revisionist history and a lot of making excuses for things, but because we could do this for hours if we were going to do that.
I'm fine with this.
Wrestling fans. but like, I feel like in recent times wrestling has had the uptick. So let me ask you instead, what gives you life when it comes to wrestling? Obviously, in fact, you could use this as an unashamed plug for SovPro if you want to, because I know that you're a massive fan of SovPro, just because it's SovPro, because it's a British wrestling fed that's trying to do things differently from best I can tell.
Yeah.
Like, what about wrestling gives you joy, man?
So I just, it's live action anime at the end of the day. Like it's really cool to like, you know, I grew up watching like loads of martial arts films. There's something just wonderful about watching some really good choreography at the end of the day. Like you can watch like Drunken Master, like great fucking Jackie Chan film, and you can go, oh wow, look how impressive this guy is that he's doing these incredible feats, and then part of your brain ticks and goes, no, wait, that's actually Jackie Chan physically doing the thing on film in the first place. So both the narrative and the part of your brain that's trying to process the actual reality are both dwelling on the same time. And I think wrestling just ticks some of the same boxes, because the ultimate goal is to have a good match. Like you can spend 60 quid on a boxing pay-per-view, and yeah, it's fucking great if someone gets a one-punch knockout, but you've just paid 60 quid for like 8 seconds of footage. Whereas if you buy a wrestling pay-per-view, realistically, you can get anywhere of like, you can have an explosive 5-minute Brock Lesnar match, which is incredible, or you can have a 45-minute classic. You don't know what you're going to get, but you're going to get a show for your money's worth because it's by design. And I've always found it really interesting, especially getting to see it live at indies. I much prefer attending shows these days than I do actually watching. I think it's really cool, like, again, being on the ground floor or something. It's really cool to be like 20 feet away from someone and be like, yeah, this guy's gonna go on to be a huge name in the industry. Like I bring this up every opportunity I get. The first thing I ever did in SovPro was interview Leon Slater. He's TNA bound now. He's going to be huge. The guy's so good for how young he is. And I get to point at that and go, yeah, that's the first thing I ever did. Now I'm part of the Leon Slater story, just going to latch onto that like a barnacle. But I got involved from SovPro because, I follow battle rap. Shotty Horror, biggest name in UK battle rap, makes a wrestling company. I know that everyone in battle rap, like 90% of people love wrestling. I got to see this. So get in there, ring, there's a ring, there's some big names on the card. There's clearly a lot of thought and planning and, let's be honest, money that's gone into this. And I get in there and I think, okay, expecting an indie show, it's a debut show. Let's see how it goes. I'm going in there expecting maybe 100, 150. Trinity Sports Hall is a big sports hall and it is packed. Like you've probably seen the footage. The place is packed out and there are like contingents. There are like, people that have come for Kid Bandit, people that have come for Commander Sterling, people that have come for Warhorse, people that are there for Shotty. Like there's 3 rows of battle rap people that I'm sitting in the middle of. And it just kind of spiraled. And it was like, it would have been different if it was like, it was a wrestling show that was clearly put on to just kind of be like a super indie. Everyone had a great match and everyone had a really good time and, hooray, off we go. But there was clearly a plan there. Like you would have heel factions debuting. You would have, people like screwing each other out of matches. You'd have people calling each other out after things. And it was like, there was very clearly a long-term plan for the whole company. And I was like, okay, well now I'm invested in SovPro. I'm not just, here as, to support the thing. I really want to see where these goes. And at Heavy as the Head, even bigger show, even bigger venue, fucking TNA world champion defending his belt on it. Leon Slater versus Endakara blew my mind as a match. That's absolutely incredible. I imagine the battle rap people have long stopped listening at this point, so fuck it, I'm just going to indulge. But
we'll welcome you back in about 10 minutes when we're done, guys. In the meantime, go make yourself a tea. I'm
exactly. You got time. Like put some soup in the microwave, whatever. But like just. It was, and then you had like more factions debuting. You had like, and then it became okay. We're planting the seeds for a hardcore division now, and it just seems like Shotty's always said we don't try to do anything new. Realistically, we're just doing the stuff that we remember watching and liking. But at the end of the day, it works. Like the stories that we tell, and I think the stories that happen in the matches, they're invested. Like they don't have to be all flips all day. They don't have to be, they don't have to end in like a Canadian destroyer off a ladder through a flaming table. Like so I'm gonna give a story that's been happening. We've had this feud going on between RPD, who's an Xboxer turned wrestler, really fucking good. He's been feuding
with the man, really good guy. Yeah,
he's been feuding with Rory Coyle. I believe he was Defiant World Champion at one point. He's got his own hardcore themed stable called Snuff, where the idea is they're just trying to make as much. They're trying to make matches as hardcore as possible, get them on film, because Rory's just a sick boy and just wants to see some violence. And he has been trying to get RPD to turn to the dark side. Had an audition with Alton Thorne, another deathmatch wrestler in the UK, big battle rap fan, whose thing is that he eats stinging nettles. So brought him into the fold. So he gets to be RPD's first contender. They're having a match where like RPD, in order to get the win, is having to give the guy a sleeper hold in a swimming pool full of nettles. Goes against RPD, where the rule of the match was it's basically an I quit match, but HD Drake, the opponent, isn't the one who gets to say I quit. Only Rory can. So the idea is like, Drake's getting like beat unconscious with a chair. He's getting choked out, and Alton's like, mate, RPD's literally going to kill him. And Rory's just like, until I believe that he's going to, I'm not saying I quit. And there's a point where like he swings a fire axe at him and gets it embedded in a table behind him. And that's when he finally calls cut. And it's like, there's no move in that match that you would look at and think, yeah, this will be like a Tumblr gif because look at all these flippy doos. It's just storytelling. And there's just nothing like that, I don't think. Like, to see it happen live between two or more people that, kayfabe, that we basically give a script and go, yo, make magic. And the things that these people come up with. You think learning battle rap rhymes is hard? I have seen two people talk to each other and they will go, okay, so back off, blah, 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 he, I'll go over the top, you go destroy a suplex on the outside of it. And they will put together about a 6-minute sequence of a match in less time than it takes someone to spit a grime round. And I'm like, okay, you lost me after lockup. I don't have the memory to do what they do. It's so impressive.
The way I articulate it to people, because again, I have to defend wrestling through certain prisms, and of course you get the people that go, it's fake, and then you go, so Star Wars, get the fuck over it. You go, right, let me put it to you this way. Wrestling does something really, really well that a lot of other genres forget to do before they set off on their production, on their casting, on their scripting, all the rest of it, which is, why should I care? Why should I care? Wrestling and battle rap, to a certain degree, starting to learn how to do this a bit more, and it's something that I've argued with Briggsy and with Stro and a few other people in terms of, right, I think this is something that's key to promotion that sometimes gets lost in the translation, is it doesn't matter how good these two guys are, it doesn't matter what stage you put them on, it doesn't matter how many people you put in the crowd, unless you can tell me why I should care, no one will. And wrestling, more often than not, at the very least, tries to give you, even if it's some goofy ass reason, like I remember at some point, fucking, what was it? The Fashion Files with Tyler Breeze and Fandango. And it's just, why should you care? Because they're funny. Because they're funny. That's it. And they'll, so long as you buy in and you understand, right, all they're going to try and do is be funny, you can enjoy what they do. And then you've got the next guy who is like a Darby Allin. And all he wants to do is steal the show. He wants to do something that night that makes you go and makes you get out of your seat with worry about the situation. Wrestling attempts to do that. And one thing I appreciate with SovPro, and because it's in my feed constantly, is the fact that they are always looking to try and inject promos. They're trying to inject their own narrative into things. They're trying to get people who aren't watching up to speed. And that's another thing that a lot of people forget is like, sometimes I'm not on the inside with some of this stuff. I'm not following it every day. I'm not following it minute by minute. But SovPro does do a lot to try and get you, even if it's just momentarily intrigued. They do that. And I've always appreciated that about the promotion, the fact that they seem to care about people wanting to care rather than sort of admonishing people, why don't you care? You should care. It's like, no. Let me just fuck that. Let me tell you why you should care. Let me give you an opportunity to catch yourself up. And I really love that. I really do.
It's one of the things that I love what we do, because we are such a well-oiled machine. Like, there's a lot of people that work on SovPro behind the scenes, and everyone has their area of focus. We all like dip our toes wherever we can just to keep the machine running. But we have a great event manager, we have a great talent manager. Elliot, he does our graphics, who does the graphics for like most UK companies, as far as I can tell, and he's just signed a deal with MLW in the States. For my money, best graphic guy in Europe. I want to give him the flowers now while I can. He's fucking incredible at what he does. Might be making something for me and Scomo, just saying. But it's just one of those things where, like, Shotty's clearly approached it with the idea of, if we're going to do it, let's do it. Let's, even if it's a failure, we can look at it and go, we did that. We will always have the shows we've done, as our legacy forever. Let's go all out on the merchandise, like little things that you don't think about. Like, and again, don't take that as me saying that SovPro is anywhere close to failing. I think it's been a rampant success, and I think it will continue to be a rampant success, because there's so many little details that go into it to make it look like a show. The fact that Shotty goes out of his way and goes, yeah, we'll make you your own theme music and you can use it license free. The fact that he'll make everyone, their own entrance promo and go, you can use this if you want. Like, he gives so much to the talent and then, gets a great response from them in return. And it's like even little things like the fact that they have like little custom boxes to put on the microphones with the SovPro logo, the beautiful ring aprons that we have, the fact that like patron names printed on the sign, really little things. And like our tag team that we book, the Decibels, their whole thing is that Lada Austin and Ivy are very loud and have a megaphone. And Momo, I think it was Momo, one of our staff members, got custom earbuds with the Decibels logo on it and had them on the seats at the event. Little tiny thing that just put a little bit of money behind, and that's something that people will talk about and remember. Part of the reason that I started doing the Ghast Forward series, which, for those who don't follow it, I basically do summaries of the SovPro storylines, or give like recaps of the matches that are happening on the next card. And the reason I did that is because it's something that I would look for, or because it gets me over the hurdle of a lot of shows that I haven't gone to. There's a fantastic company down here called Pro Wrestling Chaos here in the Southwest. I think it's one of the biggest and most successful in the country. They put on banger cards, stacked cards top to finish with the top, talent in the country. But they are also a very storyline driven company as well. And a lot of the reason that it put me off going for so long was I looked at it like, they'll be in the middle of stuff. I don't know what the storylines are. I'm not really, I don't know. I don't want to get on in the middle of it. But then you go to it, and the way that Chaos present themselves is you don't need to know nothing. Like, you're given all the pieces that you need in the storylines, because obviously they're a very good company, and the matches tell the stories as they should. I came out of it basically, I didn't know who half the people on the roster were, and I came out of it going, okay, I know he hates this guy, and I know why, and I know he's affiliated with him, which means he probably hates him, which means that next time that they've set up that match for this guy, everything was told for me at the show. I had no reason to have the, not anxiety, but the apprehension about going to the show that I had. But I thought about it, and I was like, what if there's someone that doesn't want to go to a SovPro show because they don't know the storylines? So I thought, it's digestible content. 2 minutes, here's the storyline, here's a little bit of, my style of comedy, which I've learned from the promo. And if that gets someone in the door, it's done the job.
It's because you guys care. I mean, when I looked at Shotty putting together that music, some of the music tracks when he was first starting, and you could see he'd be doing that for free. He'd just be like, this is great. I'm making wrestling themes. I'm living the fucking dream, dudes. Like, and again, the idea of the tiny little touches, because they're the things that they're tiny little seeds in your memory when you're watching a TV show, and when you watch something that's a takeoff. Like I'm a big fan of Wrestling with Regret and the promotion Graveyard series that he does. And one of the things that comes up time and time and again when you look at these old failed promotions is they didn't give a they put on a show and expected people to turn up because of who they booked. But then you look at the production, you look at the booking, you look at how they presented themselves to the audience when they're on the way in and when they're, you know, doing their MCing or whatever. And you just go, is it any surprise it failed? Whereas, again, I mean, the fact that you guys made it to TalkSport and that was being discussed, and it's that thing of everyone's just excited about it, not necessarily because it's TalkSport, but because it's another thing that's happening for us, and we're a wrestling company, and isn't it crazy we're a wrestling company when we're such big fans of wrestling? There's a pure joy in it, and I think the reason I respect it so much is because I know where it comes from, because you see it in Premier Battle, you see it in every event, you see it in all of the stuff that's released in the online chatter, the battle rap forums, and all of the Twitter spaces that happen. There's a pure joy to both, and it must be lovely being involved in both of those spheres in a time where the fandom could be toxic, and it has been toxic in the past. Right now it seems like everyone's kind of rooting for everybody else, and it's kind of nice.
Completely. And like, to bring it full circle in terms of what we were talking about in terms of promotion and getting like new eyes on the product, the reason that we were on TalkSport had nothing to do with wrestling. It was because we booked Les Battersby off Corey. Who else would think of that but Shotty? But it's because, like, we could do the thing that a lot of other companies are doing, and that's not a knock on other companies, because what they do are great. If anything, I think the period that we're in right now for British wrestling is as good, if not better, than it was when people were saying we had the boom. You know, when Ospreay was becoming big, when Zack Sabre Jr. was coming big, when a certain other unnamed villain that we don't talk about anymore.
It's okay. Like, we can skip. The less said, the better. There.
Exactly. So it's like, I think it was one of those periods where I think there is like so many people in wrestling fan, like you said, that are addicted to the, you know, the toxic and the negativity, where they were almost waiting for the bubble to pop so that they could say everything was shit again, because that's how they get their kicks. Whereas, to my knowledge, Brit Wrestling's never been bad. Like, you know, NXT UK came around and everyone got a plate. That was great. But then, because NXT UK was shut because, you know, they overstepped, you know, budget or constraint or just too much content, whatever.
Because Vinnie Mac woke up on the wrong side of the fucking bed that day and just decided, fuck it, scrap it for no reason, which pretty much is possible. And
off the back of that, and, you know, all the speaking out stuff. But if anything, it was a good thing in the long run, the way I see it, because it kind of, like, you know, got rid of all the upper echelon, and it created a ceiling for people to rise up into, which we got a brand new string of talent for. Speaking out basically purged all the cunts, because there was an ungodly amount of them that needed to go, which in the long run has turned out to be great, because now it's led to multiple companies that are full of people that, you know, touch wood, are trustworthy, that have been given platforms to new blood who are also trustworthy, and the talent that have come through and the scope of them, they've just not been discovered yet. You could put, you know, there's so many people right now, like Ian Skinner's fantastic. I think he'll be a big name in a couple of years. Like Charlie Sterling, I think, is like elite tier. Danny Duggan, like Leighton Buzzard. There's so many people that, you know, some of them are booked on every card up and down the country. Some of them only work for one or two, but there is so much British talent right now that there's no shortage of it. And basically, I think that anyone that says that British wrestling is dying is someone that, if you ask them to name 5 British wrestling, they'd say Zach and Will, and then stutter, and then start talking about fucking William Regal.
You had a pretty prolific 2023. And before I was so rudely interrupted by the good folks at 3, thanks guys, the question I had for you is 2024. What are your plans? What are your aspirations? And more importantly, and more interestingly, how does one prepare for a year after the you've just had, with not only the frequency, but the highs and the lows that you had? How do you broach that?
It's weird, because I'm in a position now where a lot of people have come up to me and they've told, yeah, you had a great year. Really respect that you did 10 battles and didn't get burnt out. Don't do it again. like everyone is like, you know, you put the grind in, everyone respects it, everyone rates it. You can afford to take some time to be more picky with your battles. Like certain people have told me, you know, the level of names I should be asking for, but you know, sometimes I think is too high personally, but and then there's other people that tell me, okay, you don't want to battle this guy or this guy. You know, that's just, you know, not at this point at least. Let them get 1 or 2 more in. But on the same note, 2024 battle rap, I think, is going to be huge, based solely on the fact that there's multiple active leagues, and they're all coming off very successful cards. And in order to ride that momentum, it feels like everyone is trying to book the year in advance. Like, everyone is telling me, yeah, you did 10 battles. Don't do 10 battles. It's the end of January. I've had 12 offers. I've tentatively agreed to battles in July at this point. It's absurd. Like, there have been names that have been thrown at me that I think are absurdly huge. There's been names that I've reached out to because, you know, I've been like, okay, well, I wouldn't mind battling this guy if people are, you know, because people keep prodding me. They're like, Ghast, you need to start asking for names. Like, you know, give the humility shit a rest. But some, you know, actually, like, so, you know, I've been, you know, casting the boat a little further out to shore, and like I've been, you know, coming out of the shallow end of the pool and getting to the point where I can't feel my feet on the bottom anymore and have to paddle. And I've been reaching out to names that, when I started, I didn't think I'd ever get booked against. Not that I expected to get booked against fucking Anderson Burrus in the first place. You know what I mean? So I've been reaching out to people, and what's mad to me is that all of those people have said yes, but, like, they've not even said no. They've just gone, sorry, money's a bit tight, can't do it. Or, oh, sorry, can't do that day, but I'm up for it. Which to me is mad. The idea that these people would tentatively agree to a battle with me in the first place is insane. I mean, there's one battle that fell through last year, which I still, you know, even now, even after the 5 battles I've had since that was tentatively penciled in, I still don't believe that they were going to give it to me. And I think he's mentioned it in an interview with you, I think. It was meant to be me versus Blizzard last year. Like, did you interview Blizzard? I think you did, didn't you?
Blizzard.
You might have heard of him. He's got
the name rings a bell, I suppose.
He's got a couple of views. Like,
he might have done something.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where, like, I did the Ghast time battle. He was like, "Yeah, Ghast is really funny. I'm thinking of maybe giving a go, but, you know, for various reasons, we just couldn't get that to work out in the long run for completely understandable reasons. Me and Brad talk all the time, but you know, the fact I'm always just amazed that these people will agree to battle me, let alone have the battle happen and you know, have the traction that it does. So I am trying to be picky, but I have so much to pick from in the position I'm in currently. I'm having to weigh up. I mean, I think part of it is I'm in the fortunate position where me losing doesn't really matter much. I think I recover from losses well enough because of, you know, the promo side of things, because I'm more comedy orientated as a battler. Like, if you actually look at my record last year, I didn't actually win that much. Like Grazza beat me in a 2-1. Like, Colton beat me. Anderson beat me quite thoroughly. Subrime had the crowd in the palm of his hand, but it still meant, you know, I got to go to Ireland and I got to, you know, I was about to say expose myself, pause. I got to perform in front of a crowd that, you know, probably didn't know who I was. I thought, you know, the Grazza performance was as funny as I expected it to be. So that's a really good battle that I can just show people and go, yeah, battle rap's really funny. And I think I'm in the very fortunate position where, you know, the fact that people are even talking about or having me in their top 10 list, you know, at a time when battle raps is, you know, on the up with these huge names coming back, selling out big cars in big venues, and the fact that people are still going, yeah, I'll put Ghast in 10th. That's mad, because I'm not in my own top 20. You know what I mean? I really struggled putting together my top 10 list, and I think if I was going through, I think I had myself like 23rd, because I'm still trying to, you know, factor in the fact that I still need big wins if I'm going to have the legacy that I want to have. And I've been looking for names. So I'm like, you know what? If people say I have a debatable with you, it's a stock builder. Or if people say I beat you, then that opens up potentially this name. Like, I'm still looking at, you know, I've asked a couple internationals if they're up for it. They are up for it. Again, it's a scheduling thing. There's a couple of like up and comers internationally that I've reached out to league owners and been like, fuck it, can I battle them, please? They're really cool. Yeah, it's I'm just in a position where I can afford to be picky. I could genuinely retire tomorrow and be more than content having, doubled the list of things I ever thought I was going to accomplish. But I also don't think I've found my ceiling yet. And I've said until I don't find this fun, or if I feel like I've plateaued, then I'll stop. And I don't feel like I've done either.
What's the dream for 2024 then? From where you started to 2023, I imagine you would have had an estimation of where you wanted to end up, and you've either exceeded or met it, or however you. I know that priorities and the way you look at things change as you progress. Like, you look back on it and you go, wow, if I'd have known then what I knew now, I'd have done this or that or the other. But what does 2024 like? What would be the next big thing for you then? Like, what would be something that you think, like you did at 2023, when you were looking at certain things, you were going, man, I couldn't imagine doing that, and I've done it, and it wasn't actually that daunting, and it makes me think about how I could push myself further and where my limit would be. What would be another fucking hell, that's a thing, in 2024 for you, but maybe feasible?
I think for me, the feasible levels are. Oh, brain. Sorry, brain just shut up. Anyway, I think the levels that I want to get to that are achievable for me by the end of the year, it can happen at any point, is I want to do a big card, preferably like a big stage battle, whether that be, I'd like to be on either, Apex or a big plug card, or I'd like to do another international overseas. Like, doing the iBattle thing was incredible, and like, I see it as an accomplishment to have got on that card, but I do appreciate that the part of the reason it was happening was because Lex knew who I was through the promo. Again, you never know who's going to watch these things. Again, that was part of it, because iBattle was the plate at the end of Academy. I was pushing iBattle a lot, so Lex knew who I was. So when I said, hey, I'm going to be in New York the same day as Hostile Takeover, that just kind of happened. But I would like to be in a position where I'm asked back, preferably for a 3-rounder. So for me, the two big things that I think are achievable for this year is I would like to go back to iBattle, and I would like to be on a big stage. I think by the end of the year, ideally, I'd like to be in kind of the position that like Lazy is now, like the position where, he's solidly established himself as a really fucking good writer, and you want to see him continue getting the big plates. I kind of want to talk about this actually, because I it just seems like the time is. I love the position that Battle Rap is right now, but I would be lying as a mid-carder. There are parts I find slightly frustrating, and that's through no one's fault, because again, the things I've been offered have been very good, and if I thought they were shit, I would say no to them. I have been offered good things across the board. I am very happy with my position. This is not me complaining, but we're at a time where literally everyone is punching upward. We have a position where I would love to say, I want to battle Reverse, or I want to battle Lazy. And those guys are in a position where they're saying, I want to battle Frankie or Bobby or Koj. And those guys are saying, I want internationals. I want King of the Dot. And we're also in a position where there are a very talented new crop. The short circuit crop are great. There's been some great guys I've seen coming through on Don't Flop. Scotland has a really strong newcomer crop. I think the likes of Pagan and 6-3, and he's a little older than those guys. He's more my generations, but I think Crohn's is slept on for how good he is. So there is the mid card have become kind of heads to take, but we haven't really got enough clout to ask for those next names yet. Do you know what I mean? So, I would love to be in a position where I could ask for someone and not feel like I'm tethering them, because they're also in a position where they need to be asking for the next tier up. Like, there's people, like I say, people like Lazy or Crow, who I, as a fan and friend of theirs, want to see them get the big plates, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to battle them at the same time. But I appreciate that's them doing me the favor at a time where people probably can't be affording to do favors. You know what I mean? Again, it's wrestling.
It depends, though, doesn't it? Because again, in the same wrestling philosophy, although probably to more of a degree in battle rap, it's about moments. Ultimately, it's not
Hmm.
necessary. I don't know if fans put the same emphasis on wins and losses in battle rap as battle rappers do. I have to be honest with you. When I talk to battle rap fans, they tell me about their favorite rounds, their favorite lines, their favorite guys, their favorite events. They don't talk about a winning streak. They don't talk about, "Oh, I mean, I'd rate him more, but he's lost his last two." I appreciate that it's important, and it adds credibility to someone's resume, and it also indicates a trajectory of sorts. But I think this is where you're unique. You offer the opportunity to have moments. You offer the opportunity to be able to build a narrative, because it's the thing that sold me on Bobby versus Bizzo. It's this idea that Bizzo has a vendetta to take something from Bizzo that he and it's the thing of, oh, do you know what? I don't even care what happens in the battle now. I just want to see these two go at it because I'm sold on that story. That's a great story.
Yeah,
But
I think you need
battle
to
rap
have.
doesn't do that a lot these days. At least in my approximation, that you don't really see that sort of, the reason you should care about these two battling isn't necessarily for the wins or a loss, but because it's gonna kick off. It's gonna be this because of these two guys being what they are, almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there are battles that kind of like do it themselves, or people like do the right thing in creating the narrative. Like Grazza is low key very good at it. Like part of the reason that he wanted to battle me and Kingsley was he basically said, "Look, no one's giving me the credit for the academy I won. You're saying this new crop's really good. Fuck it, let's kill the two best of the current crop. Now you can't ignore me." Like, great microcosm of a story, I think. And like, and again, it's moments that I look at and I think, you know what, it would be really nice if me being dressed as a clown in the thumbnail got a couple extra clicks. That's the kind of level that I think of. I kind of agree with you in that I'm always looking for moments. I'm not necessarily worried about how big the opponent is. Like, I don't think, you know, all respect to him, he's my boy, but I don't think Crumpet is a particularly big name, but he was someone I was really excited to battle. And he was someone I was really excited about on Afterlife specifically, because that's a card where you don't need the narrative. You don't need someone to be going, "Oh, why is Ghast Buff battling Young Crumpet? He should be looking for laser," but like looking for the. No, it was just a battle I wanted to do because I had some very funny bars for it, and I wanted to dress as a clown for shits and giggles. And again, I think Anderson takes very similar approaches. I think after the performance he had against me, I think he was in a position to ask for anyone he wanted, and he asked for Scomo because, you know, he's going to make some great moments out of that, undoubtedly. Like, I agree with you in the sense that I do think you can make whatever you want out of the battle so long as you're funny. Like I said, however long ago, like there are battlers I've been offered that I haven't even had a battle where I've and ahed about it for a day or two because I was like, oh, if this scheme pops, this could be a good little clip, or I just really want to say this, but I've still kind of reeled myself in at the last minute. But I feel like promoters especially really care about trajectory and booking, and it's also like battle
So you
rappers.
have to care about it through that, because you are in the unique position of having to cater to not only the fans, but you're trying to sell yourself to a promoter to say, no, I will translate. I will be successful in your promotion because of this reason. And part of it is, I won my last three battles and I won them convincingly. Like that's an easy thing to translate because promoting a winner isn't hard.
I mean, Briggsy has outright said that he's very wary of people taking, you know, multiple bookings on multiple leagues because it becomes very hard to sell the idea of a battle with that person if it's not special to it. And you know, there's parts of that I agree with, and there's parts I don't agree with necessarily. Like
It's a booking philosophy. It's as simple as that. It's not right. It's not wrong. It's his philosophy when it comes to booking.
Exactly, and I'm not going to say that Briggsy's objectively successful as a businessman. Premier Battles is doing great stuff. Stro, who I've already given flowers, is very clever in terms of how he structures his cards and putting people's trajectory. But I think there is a level of it takes a while to prep for a battle. You have to weigh up the idea that any battle you agree to effectively cordons off a minimum of a month of your year. And if you're only looking to take, you know, like sensible people do, anywhere between 2 and 5 battles, that's a potentially longer slot that you're locking off. Like, for it, you know, I'll say it, my after Anderson, my next bucket list battle down is Frankie Fraser, because I think that he is the definitive pen in battle rap right now. Obviously Soul is as well, but there's no way I'm going to get Soul to stop playing golf. So I say Frankie because he's still active. And it's
challenge accepted.
And it's one of those.
See you in a minute, Soul.
It's one of those ones where, like, you know, you've just had Frankie versus Saurus, and the whole idea was pen versus pen, because these guys are the pinnacle of the elite at it. And if I was in a position where people are like, yeah, Ghast Buff writes good enough for him to be put against Frankie Fraser and for it to make sense, that's the goal. It might be a goal for 2025, but I've got to bear in mind that Frankie's been battling for, I think, has Frankie been... I'm not familiar with the history of battle rap so much because I'm such a new fan, but I do believe he's a decade deep at this point. So
he's been going for a minute. I did do an interview with Frankie. Never aired because my microphone wasn't on. But researching him was that thing where he has a unique tapestry within battle rap before he started getting acknowledgement of his skills, and it's a weird one because when you see the pattern and when you see his influence, you're like, okay, yeah, he gets a nod for different reasons. Again, he's unique in that sense. Like you said, he's the fact that you've acknowledged him as a pen is a unique reference to him that you wouldn't necessarily give to everybody for various reasons. And I think it's interesting because your writing style and the way you enunciate and the way that you put your battles together is interesting, because the one thing that that was, and I'll read you it, so you know I can give you, because again I want it about you, everybody else for a second. Very collected, balanced style of battling, mixes jokes, intricate rhymes, and harder punches. Very measured delivery, paces himself well, understands and utilizes theatricality and meta observations, doesn't stumble. And I know that you mentioned a choke, but the fact of the matter is, in the performances that I was watching to try and sharpen up for the interview, so measured. You don't rush, and it's beautiful. It's so nice to hear someone go, I know it's clever. I don't need to prove it in the midst of saying it. It's wonderful to do. And then there's another thing. I said another funny thing. Did you hear me when I said the funny thing? It's just, no, he just lets his performance come out, and it's beautiful. It really is. I have to give you props for that, man, honestly.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Honestly, again, but like, the fact that you've got those kinds of names in mind, I guess the question is, like, maybe not that do you think it's feasible or not, I guess is, do you have confidence that you can chart a path to that, having had the 2023 that you had?
100%. And a part of it is, like, I feel like one of the reasons I'm having not trouble with kind of mapping my year out as a whole, but it's like, you're only ever as good as your last battle. And you know, off the back of it, I'm in two minds. I think my stuff against Anderson was the best I've been to date. I think the stuff that I have for Scomo is better than that. But I'm looking at it in terms of, yeah, I could agree to this, but what if I lose to Scomo? You know, what if Scomo has, you know, a career performance for him, and, you know, touch wood he does, because I would much rather lose against a great performance than win against someone shit. You know what I mean? Like, I just want good battles. I just want to have good, entertaining moments, as much as I love the idea of my own trajectory. And I am competitive with this. Like, I am aiming high. Like, I love the competitive aspect of this more, as much as anything. But I've always been in the mindset of, like, if you're going to enter a competitive environment, I love being entertaining, but I would love to be a contender one day. God knows whether or not that will happen. Doesn't necessarily matter if it doesn't, but I would love to keep climbing and for people to say it's feasible.
But if people get over, they get over, brother. And that's the thing I love about battle rap, is that when you look at the people who are now considered legends of the genre, find me a pattern of, again, they all have a little certain something. They all have a little different something. It's not like they all do the same thing to an extreme degree. And that's what, again, the fact that you've got something that sets you apart is interesting. And you have been successful. I mean, so successful, in fact, that I do have to ask you, just something that's been on my mind, really. How much does it cost to have two people following you around, one with Prosecco and one at a win, to go and get more Prosecco? And what working hours do they... Are they like on call, or do they have like a set shift pattern? I mean, I'm asking because I'd like to be as successful as you one day, but I don't know the logistics or the costs involved.
Oh, it's a 0 hours contract, and I'm outlining them through the job center at the minute. So I'm basically getting as many weeks out of them as I can, and then kicking them to the curb as my right as an employer.
Was Prosecco intended as the choice, or was it the thing that you know was going to be the hardest to find to make them as work for their money as hard as is humanly possible?
Gotta get your steps in every day, ain't you?
I suppose you do. I mean, I dream of being successful enough to be able to test bouncy castles, race Formula One cars, and test chocolate on a day-to-day basis. But at the moment, I have to make do with being, the world's, largest penis. But nevertheless, last question, and we'll try and end on a good high note as far as your 2024 and what you've got to come. I guess then is, what is your ultimate aspiration within battle rap? Would you think? Is it to be champion? Is it to be on the pantheon of the legends? Is it to make a mark? Is it to get a certain number of views, subscribers, following? Is it to translate that into something else? Because look, I think there's other battlers that don't mind admitting that battle rap has been something that they've then used to levy themselves into careers in comedy, writing, acting, music, you name it. What's your ultimate aspiration? What's your ultimate goal?
I think at this point, it's kind of like a long-term thing, and it has been since I started. It's just been to find out how good I am at the end of the day. Like I'm doing it to see if I can reach a point where people go, Ghast Buff hasn't really improved for a while. If I can get to there, I can look at where I am and look at the legacy I've had and go, you know what? Fair enough. Because if you were going to ask me what my end goal was in terms of, leading into other things or dream battles, I did it. I've genuinely already done everything that you could have asked me when I started as a bucket list. I've had an international. I've had, Anderson Burrus, who was partly my inspiration. Again, another international, internationally regarded as well. So he was the dream battle, already had it. I got a job in a wrestling company off the back of it. You know what I mean? There's not much on the list that I look at and I go, I'm not looking to sell out stadiums. I'm not looking to have an EP. I'm just in it for the fun at this point, and I just want to find out if I can get to a point where people go, Ghast Buff's one of the best in the country, and I'd love to get there. But in terms of tangible rewards, I'm not looking for a paycheck. I've genuinely never asked for a bean for anything I've done in this either side of the camera. I do it for the love of it, and I just want to see how far I can get with it at this point.
I lied. I have another question to ask you because, again, it's one of those things where I'm just genuinely curious. In terms of, because you're a wrestling fan, again, I feel like part of what makes a wrestling fan is imagining being in a moment, living vicariously through people who, if you had the ability, talent, skill, physique, non-punchable face in my case, to do what they do, you would. And
100%.
You imagine yourself in certain positions, like I don't know. There's probably a spot that would. I feel like the one thing I wouldn't do is I wouldn't want to be Shane McMahon being thrown through a plate glass window by Kurt Angle. That's probably the one spot in wrestling I'd go, do you know what? I'm good. But is there something that you've already done, or that just you know what I mean? Like a moment where you're just, I can't believe I'm doing this. This is the actual I'm fucking living a dream right now. Is there a seminal moment for you that's happened, or that you still think about in terms of, man, if this ever happens one day, I'm gonna have to turn around and make sure that there's someone there to kick me in the nuts to make sure I'm not dreaming, because it would just be too crazy.
Yeah, all the time. It's just one of those moments where, oh god, I run 2 years ago, just before 2 years ago, I barely knew what battle rap was. Now I am part of a wrestling company with shoddy horror. That is an insane sentence. I might as well lead into this. I don't think I've mentioned it. My dad watched battle rap way before I did, and I had no idea. I found out that my dad was a massive battle rap fan when I told him, it wasn't even my tryout. I told him about my second or third battle. And he was just like, have you seen Shotty Horror versus Arsenal? I was like, what? I was like, Dad, I work for Shotty Horror's wrestling company, Shotty Horror's battle rap company. What do you mean? And off the back of it, I found out that my dad is the world's biggest Arsenal fan. So no, if off the back of that, I'm gonna find. Yeah, I had to get I had to get Shotty to take a video with me at Apex 4 because my dad didn't believe that I knew Shotty personally. this was before the SovPro stuff, but I had to like he was convinced that battle rappers were like these global stars and that I didn't know any of these people. So yeah, actually another life goal. I would love to be on a card with Arsenal, and I would love to get a video message from my dad. How does that work?
That's fucking cool. That's really fucking cool, man. Like I would. I feel like I'd say what I feel like Sid in that moment where Jim Ross has just said, "We're live, pal," and it's just like, "Fuck it, I'll just get to the end as quickly as possible."
I mean, I can continue on the anecdote actually, because it's like, again, you don't realize who watches battle rap, or more importantly, you don't know who it's going to go in front. And both of these stories have come through TikTok. So yeah, incidentally, if you want to promo to the masses, TikTok is the way apparently. I feel like TikTok has no money behind it, but TikTok's very good at getting eyes on the stuff you actually want them to watch. Because every time I've had something go like semi-viral-ish, if not very viral-ish, it's always been off the back of a TikTok clip. When I had the iBattle thing with the school shooting scheme, I had someone from my primary school message me that had seen it. And then after Anderson started making his clips, I went to my wife's work do for the Christmas party a couple of weeks after that battle. And then about a week later, one of her colleagues was looking at something on his phone and was like, "Is this your husband we met being called a paedophile? Because this is on 11 million views." Like, you never know what's going to reach who. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably a bit more. I've been on my soapbox about this in previous interviews, especially with there's a guy called Joe Devine who runs TIFO, or ran TIFO, which is a football pundit analyst channel, and we went back and forth on this because I understand that it has a reach, and I understand that it has a certain digestibility. My problem with it is that the quality of 98% of the stuff on those fucking platforms is utter dog shit,
100%.
Copyright central, son. And I guess that's why I think of guys like yourself, Shotty to a certain degree, because he's the one piloting a lot of this stuff, and again, battle rappers in general, who are just working tirelessly to create something that is a one-time deal for the people in the audience, and then it maybe gets disseminated via the internet, usually by pay-per-view first, and then via YouTube as a promo. And yet, unless there's a 30-second segment that you can clip it down to, there's a good to fair chance that no one will care. And it's like, yeah, but it's right. Instead of 30 seconds of, Reacher, because that's all that's in anyone's feeds at the moment is Reacher and Roadhouse clips. It's. Have you considered that there might be 35 minutes worth of really good quality content? 35 minutes? Bro, I ain't got 35 minutes to sit and watch shit. It's like, you literally have hours.
Yeah.
You literally have hours, and you spend your time looking for good shit. That's what you do now. So I take your point. It can be put into the hands of people that wouldn't otherwise see it. I though go, yeah, but how much shit do you have to sit through to sift through just to get to something?
Definitely.
Just something original anymore. Just something that you haven't seen copied a million times before you get to it. Not that I'm asking you to put the world to rights as far as content creation. That's probably a podcast for another day. I'm just saying, though, that for guys like you, that's a godsend. I will fully concede that. But for the scene as a whole, I wonder if it's in the place it needs to be to fully... Because battle rap is uniquely suited. There are 30-second moments in most battles where you could go, man, this could catch fire. But I don't see many that do, and I don't understand why.
Content creation is its own nightmare. This might be a bit of a long rant from me, and it possibly might be something that we do edit earlier into the thing because it's low-key an origin story as well. But I don't know where I heard this, but somewhere I read that getting famous on YouTube is like putting a message in a bottle and throwing it into a sea of messages in bottles. It might have been I think it was in an Eye Patch Wolf video or something about becoming internet famous. But I'm old. I'm not as young as most newcomers are. Considering how late I discovered this. I have a storied history on the internet, and I have this might be a pause, but I've historically stuck my fingers in many pies over the years, trying new things. Because I've been involved in esports. Early on, like most of my online stuff that I'd put all my effort in was voice acting. I was a pretty decent, reasonably prolific voice actor when I was in my mid-teens to late teens. And a lot of the guys that I've worked alongside have gone on to be huge industry names. But that, again, was because I was kind of on the ground floor of something. Like the internet was only just starting to kind of congeal into this place where communities were popping up, but they were still niche enough that it was divided into like your amateurs and the people that were willing to give it a shot. And much like battle rap, a reason that I got a lot of the roles and the nods that I did was because I made the slightest bit of effort, more than, because I didn't have a professional setup. I used the microphone that came with Rock Band, and I put it in a cup as a mic stand, and I had a pair of tights as a pop guard. Nothing remotely, and to this day, it's probably the best microphone I've ever had. I'm gutted I lost it. Like, it was, the mic quality was really good, but just because I did that and I would run it through Audacity for 10 seconds worth of noise cancellation, but because this was during a time where it was nothing but 13-year-olds like with webcam microphones next to a tumble dryer, the fact that I knew what noise cancelling was made people think I had a fucking home studio by comparison, and it would get me roles and it would get me things, and it was awkward to keep up with it because no one was really looking for British accents in the voice acting industry unless they wanted like Evil Prince, or there's only two English accents in the voice acting world. There's I'm going to shit in your cereal, Potter, or oh, empty-do, apples and pears, and if you can't do either of those accents, like as far as they're concerned, I mean, they're only going to give it to an American doing that voice anyway. So I ended up getting a bit jaded and walking away from it. But what I found in the years that went on was the amateur voice acting industry kind of dried up. And a lot of those guys that were big in the forums in the days, like, who've gone on to be like really big now, are people that I know from their usernames more than their actual names, people that were doing like hundreds upon hundreds of things on Newgrounds at the time, and now they're the industry names. But the amateur scene has gone in a completely different direction, and it's only now starting to bleed into the into the mainstream kind of things, which is, you need to get cast, you need to have a pre-existing audience. Like, I'm seeing a lot of criticism of like Yongye, big YouTuber, like several million followers, just been cast as Kazuma Kiryu in the new Like a Dragon series, and people aren't happy with his performance. But it's because he's already got the pre-existing YouTube platform. Most people that I know that are involved in the voice acting industry now that are they're not making their money from getting cast in things. They're making their money from doing ASMR scripts and producing them like a fucking content factory. Like, that's where the money is in the amateur scene right now. And it's very different. Like, you find your ways, and sometimes in ways you didn't expect to, because the YouTube algorithm is constantly changing. I had a YouTube video that went very viral when I was in uni, kind of by sheer accident, because it accidentally wound itself into the YouTube Kids algorithm. And God knows how it did, because it's not pleasant subject matter that I'm talking about. But just randomly out the blue, I got a check from YouTube for like 80 quid in the post. And then I was like, what the fuck is this? And then the week, like that month, they changed the algorithm, and even though the views doubled, I got a check the next month for 26p. It's like, when I was editor for Don't Flop, we ran into similar situations, and I think the current editor is doing something very similar, where it would take battles on average a week longer to go on YouTube than it necessarily needed to, because we were trying to make it so that it could get monetized. And it was a case of, okay, I edit it, I send it to Rowan, it goes up. So I have to render it, upload it, send it. He has to download it, upload it. Day passes, didn't get approved. Recut, repeat the process. And it would, like, I've mentioned this before, Sean Cray versus Cooper had 4 or 5 different cuts. There's one where we did nothing. There's one where we cut all the swearing out of round one where we cut the swearing out of the entire battle. None of those monetized. The one that monetized was one where we were selectively swearing and basically got rid of all the random little extra, unless it was like integral, to the punchline. You can't really have problem is, Cooper, you're fucking shit if you cut out your fucking shit. So what we found is that the YouTube algorithm, this is a pure theory on my part, but I think I'm on the money. The YouTube algorithm is looking for threats and rational and like ratio of swears, because we would leave in things like you're fucking shit or you're a fucking wanker, and we would get rid of like the occasional little fucking bits where people were using it as filler for a stumble. But if someone said like I'm gonna kick your fucking head in, we'd remove that one in the middle, and it was fine. If you look at that battle, the edits seem almost random, but for some reason that passed the guidelines, where the one where we removed every single swear didn't. It's surreal. Like, and it's just one of those things where like in this digital age where things are constantly changing, like you gotta find your money somewhere. Like we've just like again
you really do.
I love esports. I've always been an esports fan. It's where the name Ghast Buff originally came from, funnily enough. Like there was times where I would be getting like ludicrous money to commentate on League of Legends tournaments, and now we're in a position where TSM, at one point biggest esports in the world, gone under this week, practically down to like 8 people, haven't got a single team in a single league as far as I'm aware. And it's like, so it's all well and good having a platform, but I think you got to find a way to get other eyes of the people that are actually going to be able to do something when they've seen it. And it's just a shame, man. That was a longer rant than I expected it to be.
No, and it was beautiful because I resonate with it in the sense of I've told this story many times. My YouTube career began precisely 1 week before the adpocalypse, and I'll never forget it because I went, "Wait, what?" And I remember hearing how stupid it was, and I remember hearing what YouTube was going to do about it, which was basically go, "You fuckers figure it out." And it's okay, all right, fine. I don't know if that's necessarily the best way of doing business, but it's a way of doing business, I'm sure. But it becomes an old man yelling at cloud situation.
Absolutely.
And I know that it's useless ranting about it. It's the only thing you can do is be the change you want to see, set the example you want to see followed. And so with this sort of stuff, and with battle rap in particular, I like seeing how Prem does business, in terms of, again, the way the prep and the production and the care and the attention that they put into battlers, the fact that they give guys opportunities, and the fact that they are trying to think of the fans as well as the battlers as well, rather than it just being this more wrestling centric. I'm thinking in terms of, well, no, it's what the fans need, man. You got to do it. It's what the fans need. It's like, yeah, but the wrestlers should count for something too. Like their health and career trajectory and their comfortability should be a factor 100%. In the decision making process. But what do I know? I'm only a human being with feelings, unlike the fucking McMahons. Anywho.
Oh, actually, very quickly, sorry.
No, by all means.
This is something I do actually want to give Scomo credit for, because he was the one that asked me to do this. And once I did, I listened back to it and I was like, this is actually kind of sick. We should do this. I reached out to Briggsy after the fact. And because I think Prem tried this earlier in the year, and the fact they didn't continue it suggests it didn't get the results they wanted. But earlier in the year, Prem tried putting the audio of the battles on Spotify. And as far as I'm aware, they only did it for match day 1. But at some point last year, Scomo wanted to listen to Koj versus Gemini without the crowd reaction. So he asked me to take the audio of it and kind of trim it down. And I did. And it's actually like really nice to listen to. It's really good background listening to kind of look at it and go, oh, yeah, wow, those rounds are pretty much 2:30 on the dot. That's really impressive. Or, man, when there's not people interrupting him every like 2-3 bars, Gemini can fucking flow. Like if you listen to the whole thing, as it probably sounded in like a WhatsApp voice note to Yizzy, it sounds amazing. And I reached out to Briggsy and I was like, do you want me to like make more of these and put these on Spotify and see if they do any better? I think he forgot about it because it was in the middle of the time that all the plug announcements were dropping. But again, like sometimes it could be just something that no one else has tried, because why would you? Why would you? Why would you think of something like that? But yeah, like, it's just something that Scomo asked me to do, and it's actually I would like to see that and see if that does any better.
It's an interesting concept for sure, because again, this is the thing that battle rap does have over other genres in terms of. I don't know if it's a hindrance, but it's certainly an aspect of it is this one time deal of it being sort of this is the only time you see it. But then again, there's nothing stopping once the live performance is done and it's in the can. There's nothing wrong with you then taking those performances and then doing, repackaging them, representing them, or using them for promotional purposes. Because if the guys can look at it through a different lens, because this is the thing about battle rap, is that I think it's got so much potential to be applied to the modern era in terms of content creation, in terms of the platforms that are available, in terms of how content is consumed and disseminated. And yet, it, at least to me, is still maybe not utilizing it all. But then again, you do have to bring it back to the fact that, but we only have so many hours. There's only so many, there's only so much manpower we can put to something like this. And ultimately, for an experiment, you have to be pretty fucking sure it's going to work if you're going to spend exorbitant amounts of time on it. So, I've been a big proponent of the fact that Premiere in particular has done, like, I remember the thing what they did with Bizzo when they awarded him the title. They almost did like this sort of follow him around with the belt for the day to get his. Let's try and put a spotlight on him. Let's treat him like a character or an event or an attraction. For those that don't know who he is, let's try and eliminate that barrier for fans. And I appreciate that they do that, and I appreciate that that's something that SovPro seems to follow through with as well, and that there's people like you who are passionate about putting the finer details in.
Yeah, I just think if you have the access, the equipment, the talent, the skill set, just do what you want, really. I think at the end of the day, I think anyone that books a league is grateful if you do something. Even if it's as little as retweeting the flyer, or even just putting it on Facebook so it reaches your personal social circles. So long as you're doing something, and I appreciate that not everyone can. Like, it's a privileged position to be, just to have the time to do it. I mean, like, I've always, the fact a lot of the early promo stuff where I was, making them like, sometimes 2 times a week. Mostly that was just because I had so much time I don't really have. So much now that I actually have a family that I am obligated to give attention to because I love them dearly. Just one of those things where, but again, it's for fun. At the end of the day, it's for fun, and if at the end of the day it sells a ticket, everybody wins.
I couldn't agree with you more. Again, I always think of things through that prism of, just ultimately at the end of the day, it's entertainment, and the people, the one that it seems to be cycling through a lot of the short stuff at the moment. I try to stay off shorts these days because it just numbs my brain. But the one that I get is oh man, artists that make art for other people, they're in the wrong shit. Art should be for yourself, bitch. No, you better think of your fucking audience if you're making art, because otherwise, the main reason you're doing it is for attention, and if no one wants to pay it attention, probably not going to get attention. So I appreciate it needs to be gratifying to a certain degree, and that's fine, but we're all attention whores at the end of the day. That's why we do what we do. So you just need to reconcile with the fact that sooner or later, you're going to have to either recontextualize what you do to make it palatable to people, or you better just start making something that's palatable to people. That's ultimately why I can sit and criticize people for making shorts of other people's shit all day long. But if they're sitting at 250 million views and I've got 1,000, who's the idiot? No, I've got principles though. Yeah, great. That's fantastic. Enjoy your principles in the corner now, lad. Anywho, my last question for you is, what have you got coming up that you can tell people about? What have you got coming up that you're super excited about that you can tell people about, that you've made a decision about? And more importantly, because you've mentioned the YouTube channel that you don't really use, you're about, but I wasn't able to really pin you down in terms of where I could get the very best of you. So where can people find you? Where can people support what you're doing and what you're in turn supporting other people in doing?
Yep. So the best place to find me is my Twitter account. Pretty much everything goes on there, like all the promos and stuff. Twitter.com/Ghast Buff. I'm not saying X. I refuse to. Like pretty much Just pretty much all of
My
my
guy.
like pretty much all of my hype stuff, the stuff that I make. If it can fit under 2 minutes 20, it'll be on there. In terms of stuff that I'm promoting and I'm excited about, nothing is definitively locked or announced, which is a shame because there is a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, I will admit. There's some great stuff I can't wait to tell people, genuinely, but we're not there yet, unfortunately. So what I will tell you is I'm very much looking forward to Undisclosed 11, February 10th, Manchester at the venue, me versus Scomo. Overdue by about 18 months, but we're finally there. Both of us are infinitely better than we were when this was first penciled in, so this has a very good chance of being battle of the night. I think this is my funniest, most direct, most cutting stuff I've ever written. I can't wait to perform it. And if you want to see me living my other dream, then Sovereign Pro, It's Dark and Hell is Hot will be taking place at Trinity Sports Centre, February 18th. Manchester as well. I'm very excited for the card top to bottom, as I am with every SovPro show, and yeah, it's just great.
Well, there you have it, King, and it promised to be an absolute... I'm not going to do the accent. It's probably in bad taste to do the accent these days, but there you have it, man. That was excellent. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you so much for everything. And also, again, now that we're on camera recording, thanks for being really nice in person. Again, people, I can't tell you enough. Go to a battle rap event. Everyone's super nice. Everyone's super accommodating. They don't stab you much. And it's one of those things where you go, do you know what? I'd hang out with these guys even if we were just doing nothing. And then you treat it to the highs and lows, the comedic timing, the venomous barbs of the premiere of battling. Premier Battles, there you go. And obviously other battling leagues are available. But dude, thank you so much. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.